Thieves will steal our cars, our valuables, just about anything they can get their hands on. To cut down on crime and antisocial behaviour, the police and other agencies are using new tactics and technology, so the bad guys get caught in the act.
The CCTV is gold dust.
Great evidence for the police.
Gotta have him stopped.
Local councils, shops and businesses are laying some traps of their own.
The eureka moment when you get that evidence.
And the general public too can help unsuspecting crooks get their comeuppance.
People won't stand by.
I couldn't sit back and do nothing.
Yes, we've got her.
So anyone who's up to no good had better think twice. They might just get caught red-handed. Today, a gang of armed robbers embark on a month-long reign of terror.
They're chaotic, these criminals.
They're desperate people.
The guy with shotgun, very loud, he said, "Don't turn, if you go, I will shoot you."
But they haven't counted on victims who fight back.
A large group chased them out of the shop.
Also today, the depths to which some crooks will sink.
It's just despicable. They've got no consideration for how people feel about the pets.
When prized fish are stolen, the family trawl through CCTV to land a catch. And thou shalt not steal. A higher power watches a church usher pocketing the collection money. Greater Manchester, and the police are on the hunt for an armed and dangerous gang.
They're running around the streets with a shotgun. They're absolutely chaotic.
They're targeting businesses and commit 9 raids in a month, leaving behind them terrified victims.
She's got a gun in her face, she's got somebody else grabbing her from behind. Her whole life must have just flashed in front of her.
Then they try to rob Ali's restaurant.
It's an emergency. We got a robbery here with gun. Someone's just entered with a gun? Yeah, shotgun. A shotgun?
But he bravely stands up to them.
The guy with shotgun, very loud, he said, "Don't turn, if you go, I will shoot you." I just want to protect my colleagues, so that's why I just took a risk.
With a population of nearly 3 million, Greater Manchester is one of the largest metropolitan regions in the UK, so it has its fair share of serious crime. To tackle it, Greater Manchester Police has a division called the Serious and Organised Crime Group. Robert Cousin works as a detective inspector, and Richard Castley as a detective sergeant.
We've got specialist skills to tackle professional criminals. That's where we're brought in.
So that's the most sophisticated criminals that you have really in society. You never know what you're coming into, you never know when you're going to be going home, but it's something that I'm passionate about, and luckily I've got a team that are really passionate about it as well.
Been in the police 16 years. I've always wanted to be a police officer since I was a small kid.
And the team are about to be tested by a highly active and violent gang of armed robbers. A May evening in Chawton, Manchester. It's just after 9 p.m. at this bookmaker's when 2 men burst in. One's armed with a shotgun. He points the gun at the face of the cashier and demands he opens the shop safe. Deciding the cashier isn't moving fast enough, the robber hits him over the head with the shotgun. Finding only a small amount of cash, the 2 masked men leave.
This isn't something that happens every day of the week. This is a really serious, violent crime. And you can see how close that shotgun is, right at his head. He must have been absolutely petrified.
The robbers are in and out in under 4 minutes, and there's not much for the police to go on as they were masked and wearing gloves.
It was a really difficult investigation. We didn't know who the people were who were responsible. There was no intelligence coming in from the public to say who was responsible.
5 days later, and 80 miles away in Derby, there's a robbery at another bookmaker's. This time, there are 3 raiders. Again, one of them carries a shotgun. The police believe it's the work of the same gang.
A shotgun is not the most common weapon to be used in an armed robbery, contrary to popular belief. You've then got the description of the males wearing face coverings described as bandanas.
Again, the gang commit the robbery in minutes, but two of their faces are captured on CCTV as they escape. This is the gunman.
Unbeknown to him, there was a camera that caught him just as he left and as he pulled down his bandana.
It's like a picture you'd have on your mantelpiece at home. It's that clear, you can see this person's face.
It's a great lead, but it doesn't bring an immediate result.
Basically, we searched our entire Greater Manchester police system to try and identify this male and just couldn't find him anywhere. And that causes a great deal of frustration.
But they're about to have more luck identifying the other robber wearing the sunglasses. A witness comes forward with the number plate of the gang's getaway car.
The vehicle was identified as being hired in Manchester, so inquiries were conducted and the vehicle was stopped. One of the suspects was arrested.
The man found driving the car is 25-year-old Omar Berryman, and he has a distinctive pair of sunglasses with him.
When we look at the CCTV, it's clear to see that the sunglasses recovered in the car is the same sunglasses as being worn by one of the offenders during the offence.
Berryman's held in prison, while the police go after the rest of the gang. They're a man down, but they aren't about to stop. Their next target, a fast food restaurant. Ali works here as a shift manager. He originally came to this country in 2000 as a refugee from Afghanistan.
15 years before I moved here in UK, started living here. Very happy, yeah? Happy family, happy life.
Then one Friday night, when the restaurant is about to close, Ali is on duty working in the back office.
I was cashing up tills in the office around 10:55.
Ali has cash on the table, which he's just about to put into the open safe. But then the assistant behind the counter is confronted by a terrifying sight. A masked man with a shotgun bursts in, followed by two others.
She ran in office and came, screamed, "Oh, guys with gun." Straight away I checked the camera and I saw the three guys with mask and gloves.
Ali could and really should have stayed in the office, but he makes the decision to face the robbers, to help his colleagues and customers get to safety.
I had the option to do not go on front, but I thought maybe they come in the office or maybe they harm my colleague. So as I was shift manager, I think it's my responsibility to protect my staff.
Now, Ali's at gunpoint. The raiders demand he open the tills.
The guy with shotgun, he seems very angry and he was very loud.
But Ali has lived through dangerous times in Pakistan and Afghanistan, so he doesn't scare easily.
I've seen guns before, a couple of times. I just want to protect my colleagues. So that's why I just took a risk.
Ali turns his back on the robbers and heads towards the office.
The guy with shotgun, very loud, he said, "Don't turn, if you go, I will shoot you." I didn't give him chance to take any action. I just turned away and then went into the office.
It's a big risk. Once in the office, Ali shuts the open safe. The other staff have got away, so he locks the office door, sealing himself off from the armed gang. Then he calls the police.
It's an emergency.
We got a robbery here with guns.
Someone's just entered with a gun?
Yeah.
Realising they've been outsmarted, the gang leave empty-handed.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
And all your staff are okay, yeah?
They're a little scared, but they are okay.
Ali keeps a cool head and checks on some customers who witnessed the raid but were ignored by the robbers.
Each customer, I said, no, don't be scared. I just rang police, they are coming. One customer is sitting over there. After that, this customer came and said, "You are my hero." Makes me feel very proud.
When the police arrive, Ali gives them the CCTV footage of the attempted robbery.
There's never really a silver line in these types of offences because you've always got victims there. However, on this occasion, they were unsuccessful.
But our concern is they're going to continue committing these offences whilst we're looking for them, while we're trying to identify who they are.
Later, the gang's crimes escalate. They become more desperate and aggressive.
This must be the most frightening experience that these people will have ever had and are ever likely to have.
But when they attempt to rob a mobile phone shop, they get more than they bargained for. Throwing a chair, the staff fight back. The likelihood of anyone being caught up in an armed robbery like this is thankfully extremely slim. But if we are unfortunate enough to come face to face with violent criminals, there are steps we can take to help avoid getting hurt.
Fighting back is an absolute last resort when you're faced with an offender with a weapon. It can actually make the situation worse.
This is not the movies, it hurts. So your life's far too precious, don't get involved.
Never be ashamed to run away from the crime or to hide. There is nothing more important than your life.
The description of a weapon can prove absolutely vital to a criminal investigation.
Whether or not it's a long-barreled weapon, short-barreled weapon, the type of knife, that will help us.
In this situation, the offenders were masked, but it's surprising how much evidence you can still gather. What accent do the offenders have? How many are there? Do they call each other by a name or a nickname? And all of this is absolutely essential.
Coming up, thieves try to net a fortune from fish by stealing valuable koi carp.
The biggest fish that we had could have been worth up to about £30,000.
The family check their cameras and hook a couple of slippery crooks out for some nighttime fishing. Is nothing sacred anymore? When the church usher takes the collection at the end of a service, the congregation don't expect him to help himself. Now, only in America, these pictures taken by a hidden camera show a man who's at a church service. But he's not worshipping with the congregation. He's skulking in the corner of a back room. And the money he's rather inelegantly stuffing into his trousers is from the church's collection baskets. To make things worse, he's one of the church ushers, and he's doing this while the service is still going on. Still, his sins are being watched from on high. Well, certainly by this secret camera. Suspecting someone is stealing from the collection fund, church officials have informed the police, who've set up a sting operation to catch the culprit. As well as the camera, there are plainclothes officers sitting amongst the congregation. Oblivious, the man continues to collect the church's collection into his own pockets, every last coin and cheque. He then returns to join in the service. Found with nearly $350 on him, the uncharitable usher at first claims it's all his own money. May he be forgiven? Well, no. The police and the church don't turn the other cheek. He is ushered away and charged with theft. Thieves will take just about anything that's not bolted down. But here's a fishy tale for you, where a couple of crooks net themselves a bizarre catch. Sunderland. It's the early hours of the morning and these men are about to commit an unusual sort of crime. They're going fishing, but for somebody else's fish.
It's just despicable. They've got no consideration for how people feel about the pets.
Andy's beloved koi carp have been stolen.
The pond was completely empty, it was desolate.
The family can't understand why anybody would steal their pet fish until they find out exactly how much these carp are worth.
Anywhere from 1,000 to 30,000.
Now Andy and his family desperately hope the police can hook these crooks. Fish and fishing have been important to Sunderland over centuries. And fish certainly play a major role in the life of this Sunderland resident. These Japanese koi carp belong to Andy.
Fish to me is comforting. It's very comforting. They're nice to watch, they're nice to see, they're nice for the grandkids, and they're tranquil. It's something nice for you just to sit in the garden and enjoy with your family.
Koi carp can live to over 50, and the first two Andy bought are nearly 30 years old. Daughter Gemma has grown up with them.
Dad got the pond when I must have been about 11 or 12, I think. It grew from there. Gradually, every Father's Day, birthdays, we'd buy him more and more fish. And since then, the love's grown. When we've had children, we've passed that love on to them.
Gemma lives down the road from her parents. She now has her own smaller pond of fish. But for her and her children, including daughter Megan, Grandad's pond is still the best.
Would just love to come down and feed them and watch them swim about and gobble up all the food.
Oh, can we feed the fish? Can we feed the fish? It's a lovely atmosphere for them.
Everybody has a firm favourite.
There was one silver fish and I'd named it Victoria Beckham because it just reminded us of her, with the sparkles and everything.
The family have never had any problem with crime, but Gemma's husband has installed security cameras on the outside of their house. They're going to prove useful in a way they could never have expected. Andy and his wife have gone away on holiday. As usual, while they are away, daughter Gemma looks after her mum and dad's fish. But early on a Wednesday morning, she immediately knows there's something wrong.
Usually when you go out to the pond, the first thing you see is the fish jumping. They sense you coming and they realise that they're going to get food straight away. And there was nothing. All of the big fish had gone. Just panic, really.
With a ladder leaning against the garage wall opposite the pond, there's no doubt somebody's deliberately fished out their fish.
So I quickly rang the police.
Gemma then checks her own pond to find that she too is missing some of her fish.
My husband actually suggested we check the cameras to see if they'd picked anything up.
This is what the cameras reveal. Nearly 1:30 a.m, 3 men holding buckets and a net walk around the side of Gemma's house. Moments later, in the dim light, the camera in Gemma's back garden shows one of the buckets being placed on the ground. 3 shadowy figures move towards her pond. They stay for a few minutes before heading towards Gemma's dad's garden.
They collect their bucket, and what we think they've then done is climbed over next door's garden and then down into my parents' garden.
Out of view of Gemma's cameras, they then clear Andy's pond. They use his ladder to climb out over the garage.
I think the most shocking thing was to know that somebody was in that close proximity, and yet we weren't aware of it, and they'd just been right outside of, you know, my daughter Meg's window.
When my mum told us, I'd realised that the noises that I thought were just the wind wasn't. It was actually the men moving me fish out of the garden.
It took us a while to get her to calm down, and on a few nights, she couldn't sleep. She was upset by the whole thing, really.
As thefts go, stealing a pond full of fish is fairly uncommon.
The police were really surprised when we contacted them. I don't think they'd even ever heard of it. They were really good, really supportive.
Gemma gives the police the CCTV footage and they begin their investigation. Then, with a heavy heart, Gemma makes a call abroad.
So then I had to ring my dad. An awful phone call to have to make, because I know how much Mum and Dad loved the fish.
Very upsetting, very annoyed, couldn't do nothing, sitting in Tenerife. Obviously, it spoils your holiday. And it's just despicable. They've got no consideration for how people feel about the pets.
When the police ask what the fish are worth, Andy has no idea.
I couldn't put a price on them because you can't value a pet because it's not something you would sell.
But when Andy does look up how much his koi carp could be worth, he's stunned.
Anywhere from 1,000 to 30,000. Quite astonished, really, that they were valued that much.
But the footage from Gemma's cameras means the net is about to tighten on these fish thieves. After the images are circulated around Sunderland, a local police officer recognises 2 of them, and the pair proved to be an easy catch.
Police officer, he told us that when he'd gone into their house, he'd actually found some of the koi carp in the bathtub. There was some still in the plastic trug buckets in the bathroom as well, and they were trying to hide them.
The haul of exotic fish at the thieves' house comes from a number of ponds. Amongst them, they find some of Andy and Gemma's carp.
They shouldn't have done it because we'd looked after them for years and they just took them and thought nothing of it.
In court, a 21-year-old and a 25-year-old man admit 3 counts of theft and criminal damage. They are both placed under curfew, electronically tagged for 3 months and ordered to pay compensation and costs.
Oh, we'll feed the fish.
Some of Andy's fish, including the eldest, were returned. He's now installed CCTV cameras and other security devices in his garden to help keep a better eye on his freshly restocked pond.
And obviously it's back to where it was, which is quite satisfying.
I was just pleased that my mum and dad managed to get some back so they can enjoy some some happiness again.
We'll have the fish as long as I'm here. There'll always be fish in my family. Yeah.
Now, these two men are out on a day trip, or rather, a day's tip. Salford Council in Greater Manchester are cracking down on illegal rubbish dumping, and one of their CCTV operators zooms in on this pair, who have been throwing bin bags and boxes out of their car. After watching this man with trouser trouble and his buddy kick rubbish into the buddleia, the operator then sets the camera in position, ready to capture the number plate as they drive off. The council are shocked to discover the car belongs to a man from Eastbourne, East Sussex, and that he has driven nearly 300 miles to fling out his junk in Salford. But his far-flung fling is going to prove very expensive. He's taken to court and ordered to pay fines and costs totalling £850. Throw in the petrol costs on top of that, and he really should have stayed at home. The Greater Manchester Police Serious and Organised Crime Group are on the trail of an aggressive gang of armed robbers. They've already raided 2 businesses at gunpoint and attempted to rob another until they were foiled by the selfless actions of restaurant manager Ali.
I think it's my responsibility to protect my staff. The guy with shotgun, very loud, he said, "Don't turn, if you go, I will shoot you." I didn't give him chance to take any action. I just turned away and then went into the office.
But now the gang's crimes are starting to escalate.
We then get hit with a double whammy, and there's 2 offences in one day.
They hold up a bookmaker's in Stretford, Manchester. Then 15 minutes later, they rob a shop a few miles away. Over the next week, they hit more small businesses.
This team were relentless. Offences were being committed on average every 3 days. We were playing catch-up, trying to get the clues that we needed to put these people behind bars. And it was difficult because no sooner had we made progression on one crime and then there was another crime.
But police are collecting evidence about these robbers. They wear similar clothes each time. Distinctive bandanas, a grey hoodie, and a blue hoodie with a yellow logo. Despite carrying out so many armed robberies, the gang aren't getting away with large sums of money.
They're committing offences at convenience stores, which is really low value they're going to get from them. 3 offenders committing an offence, getting 300 or 400 quid. It indicates there that is a degree of desperation in relation to these people.
And alarmingly, the gang are getting more aggressive too.
When they realise they're not getting as much as perhaps they want, they then target the female who's working in there and rip her chain off her. Got a gun in her face, she's got somebody else grabbing her from behind. Her whole life must have just flashed in front of her.
But the gang get a taste of their own medicine when they try to rob this mobile phone shop. It's Monday lunchtime. As before, 3 raiders burst in, but this time they're in for a shock. A staff member throws a chair at the gunman. And there's another surprise for the robbers. This shop has its own gang of brave assistants.
A large group of males in the back of the shop see what's going on, and then they start to chase them out of the shop.
Now it's the robbers' turn to be alarmed. They run out empty-handed.
So you're quite chuffed that they've not got anything and no one's been harmed on this occasion?
The concern from my perspective at that point is they've not got away with anything. These are desperate people. Somebody else is going to be a victim of crime.
And that's exactly what happens. Just 4 hours later, they launch a raid on this bookmaker's shop. Their actions are becoming more desperate, and they're more ready to use force with staff and members of the public.
They were starting to rob customers, taking mobile phones, taking jewellery from them, actually threatening them with shotguns as they was leaving.
This must be the most frightening experience that these people will have ever had and are ever likely to have.
And it just increases our fear of what they're going to do next.
The police turn up the heat on the streets of Manchester and flood the area with officers. It goes quiet. For a short while, there are no robberies. But then Robert's team get a surprise call from Northamptonshire Police. They have arrested 3 men after a couple are held hostage and robbed in their own home.
We were made aware because the 3 people who were arrested were from Manchester, and significantly the fact that they had a sawn-off shotgun. This could potentially be the same team. We then researched the people that were in custody.
The men were stopped in a car trying to escape. They are 20-year-old Coyote Freeman and 23-year-old Roman Richards from the Manchester area. And importantly, the gunman whose face was caught on camera, 23-year-old Jake Prempeh.
Basically, he was from London, who'd come up to Manchester and had associated with people in Manchester.
Could Prempeh and the other men be the gang responsible for the entire recent series of robberies?
And that was really the start of where some really important pieces of jigsaw just started to fit in.
They find a treasure trove of evidence inside the car. Grey and blue hoodies that match those worn in the robberies, as well as a bandana and bright orange gloves. And then there's the shotgun.
We've compared that to the CCTV footage of the firearm used in the offences. You can see the shape is all the same.
They also seize mobile phones. Robert and Richard can retrieve data from them, and they discover further evidence against the men.
And they were really important. When we started to look where the phones had travelled to and the times of the offences, we were able to quickly ascertain that these people had been at the scenes of crime.
And then, some more proof. DNA from all 3 men is found on the clothes taken from the car. It proves each of them committed some or all of the raids.
You get the confirmation that it is our suspects, we can match the clothing to the CCTV, then that's a bingo type moment.
In total, the gang have committed 9 armed or attempted armed robberies. Despite their aggression, they have stolen just 6 grand.
The behaviour of that gang was absolutely disgusting. Clearly they had no regard at all for any other person other than themselves.
In court, the robbers plead guilty. Jake Prempeh is jailed for 15 years, 7 months. Omar Berryman and Coyote Freeman, who took part in some of the robberies, are given 6 years and 4 months and 6 years and 8 months respectively. And Roman Richards is sentenced to 8 years and 4 months in prison.
We were really pleased with the convictions, a real feeling of success, and the fact that we put some dangerous criminals behind bars. And hopefully for the victims, they can get on with their lives and they can move on.
And restaurant manager Ali, who outwitted the robbers the day they tried to rob him, is glad no other victims will suffer at the hands of this gang.
It's good they've been arrested, then at least they're gonna stop doing this. I was very happy.
That's it for today. Join us next time when police and the public catch more criminals red-handed.
We're promised what Bargain Hunt calls a quacking time next on BBC One. That's because one of the teams is drawn to a pair of wooden ducks. What will that fetch at auction, I wonder?